Hello everyone, and welcome to Corn's Tower. My name is Steven, and today I'm here to teach you about Panini's Dragon Ball Z card game. If you already know how to play, please subscribe, for my future videos are going to be more about strategies of cards, how they play, and their roles in each different type of deck. But for now, let's get started. In Dragon Ball Z, your deck will consist up to 3 major parts. You have your main personality, which will have 4 personality levels. You will have a Mastery, which will determine what style of deck you are playing, and then you'll have a 60-card life deck. When choosing a main personality for the first time, you may want to choose a character that you're most familiar with from the Dragon Ball Z series. It'll make the game a lot more fun and interesting as you play along and learn how to play the game. Your main personality consists of 4 parts. It has its power stages, which are on the right-hand side, which determines how much damage it can deal with physical attacks, how much damage it can take from physical attacks, as well as how much energy it can pay to perform energy attacks. Also, down at the bottom, you have your power, which is just the ability of your character. We'll get back to that later. In the round circle here with PUR, that is your power up rating. At the beginning of each of your turns, you will gain that number in power stages. So you can regenerate your power stages essentially every turn. And then in the top left-hand corner, you have your level. Your level determines what level you're on, which every time you change a level, you get stronger or weaker, depending on what character you're playing. You'll gain a different ability, you'll gain a higher PUR, and there's a chance of you also overpowering your opponent, which is one of the victories that you can win by MPPV. Depending on what mastery you have chosen depends on what cards you're allowed to use in your deck. If you've chosen orange style, you would be allowed to use orange style cards in your deck. If you've chosen red style, you'd be able to use red style cards in your deck. Also, any character can use any of the colored styles, black, blue, orange, or red, but Namekian and Saiyan are restricted. You can only use Namekian characters with the Namekian style masteries, such as Piccolo, Nail, Lord Slug, Kami, etc. And also Gohan is allowed as well, since he was trained by Piccolo. As far as the Saiyan heritage or Saiyan mastery is concerned, they're Saiyan heritage characters, such as Goku, Trunks, Nappa, Gohan, anyone that has Saiyan blood in their veins. Once you have chosen your main personality and your mastery, now you get to build your 60-card life deck, which will consist up to 7 different card types. You have your physical combat, you have your energy combat, you have your events, you have your setups, you have your drills, you have your Dragon Balls, and then you have your allies. Your allies are going to be purple cards. Everything else will tell you specifically on them what they are. Each card type has its own set of general rules that it follows when the card is being designed, but that does not mean that each card is going to follow these set of rules. With that in mind, I would like to go over the different card types. Physical combat and energy combat cards are normally attacks and defenses. You have your physical combat cards that perform physical attacks, dealing power stages of damage, and then you have your physical combat cards that stop physical attacks. On the energy combat side, you will have energy combat cards that perform energy attacks. They normally cost power stages and dealing life cards, and then you have energy combat cards that stop energy attacks. Your events, most of the time, will just be effects. You play the card, and you do what the card says. Setups come into play outside of combat, which we will get to. Setups are normally one-time uses. They're banished or discarded after use, and so you use the card, you do its effect, and then you discard it or banish it. Drills, they also come into play outside of combat, but you can use their effects each combat, and they do not leave play when you use their effects unless they say otherwise. They also can have constant effects, so you constantly get that effect while they're in play. Dragon Balls are a mixture of both, kind of. You have Dragon Balls that specifically just have effects on them, like this one here: draw 3 cards, place 2 at the from your hand at the bottom of your life deck, raise or lower a player's anger 1 level. When this Dragon Ball comes into play, you use its effect. This Dragon Ball has a constant effect, which we'll get to symbols later, but it has the infinity symbol next to it. And its effect is constantly in use as long as you control the Dragon Ball while it's in play. Allies are kind of like drills, but with personalities attached to them, essentially. They will have powers on them, just like your main personality does. They have their own PUR rating, which they'll gain that number during your power-up step, just like your main personality does. And they have power stages, so they can, help you perform attacks. You can redirect damage to them, but for the most part, their power will either be a constant effect with an infinity symbol, or it'll be an effect you can use once per turn. When building your 60 card life deck, there's a few things to keep in mind. Dragon Balls and allies are limit 1 per deck. Villains can use villains only cards. Heroes can use heroes only cards. Also, freestyle cards that have names in them, like your Trunks Sword Slash, only Trunks can use this card. The same thing goes for any card that has Nappa or Vegeta in the title. Only Nappa and Vegeta can use those cards. Every other card in the deck is limit 3 per deck unless the card specifically states on it, which it'll state at the beginning of the card. There are 4 icons in the game. This determines when a card can be used. The first icon is going to be the attack symbol. If you notice, after the banish after use, there's 2 swords there before the attack. That means that this card can be used to perform an attack. So this card can be used during your action step to perform an attack against your opponent. The next symbol is the shield. At the beginning of this card, it has a shield, which means that when my opponent performs an attack on me with this attack symbol, I can play 1 card from my hand that has a defense symbol in response to that card. The next symbol is going to be the infinity symbol. The infinity symbol means that that effect is in constant use as long as this card is in play. So as long as Nappa here is in play, setups cannot be used. The next symbol is the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt means it can be used at any time whenever it is appropriate for its effects to take effect. So the power on this card here is used when an event is played. So its effect, since it's instant, essentially, it can be played anytime an event is played. So my opponent plays Confrontation on me because it's an event. I can immediately use this card without taking up an action to do the effect of this immediate card. Now, for the most important part, how do you win? Well, you have 3 options. 1, you win by survival. Your opponent has no cards left in his life deck. You win the game. 2, you collect all 7 Dragon Balls. They have to be in play under your control. You win the game. Or 3rd, you win by overpowering them. By hitting level 4 with 5 anger, you win by most powerfulest personality victory. Alright, as mentioned at the beginning of the video, you have 3 parts to your deck. You have your main personality, your mastery, and your 60 card life deck. Your main personality and mastery start out in play. And your main personality starts out at 5 power stages above 0. So you'll need some form of tracking, either using the mastery itself or to use a die. I personally like using a mastery. So we'll start at 5 above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which will start us at 4,000 as our power rating. Also, you'll need to keep track of your anger. Your anger can be kept track of with a die or an application, or there's some old school score Dragon Ball Z swords that you can use for that as well. But no matter what, just keep track of it in some form. Next, you will want to shuffle your life deck, your 60 card life deck, have your opponent cut it if they want to, and then set it somewhere on the table, anywhere you'd like. And then you're also going to have a discard pile and a banish zone. Now you're ready to play the game. So now you have to figure out who goes first. Most people just roll a die. You can play rock, paper, scissors if you want. As long as both players agree on how to determine who goes first, doesn't matter. Now for turn sequence. During your turn, you have 5 steps. You have your draw step, planning step, combat step, discard step, and rejuvenation step. The draw step. At the beginning of your turn, you draw 3 cards. So I'm going to draw 3 cards from the top of my life deck. Alright. Step 2, the planning step. Now you will play any allies, drills, setups, or Dragon Balls from your hand into play. I have a drill. I can play that, so I'm going to play that drill. Now, I get to power up. So my power up rating is 2, so I get to gain 2 power stages. So it means I move up 2 power stages in my power stages here. So 1, 2. Now I am at 6,000. Sweet, I'm stronger now. Alright, so now that step's over, we're going to go to the combat step. This step is optional. I can choose to enter combat with my opponent, or I can choose to pass combat. If I choose to enter with my opponent draws 3 cards. Okay, I have 2 cards in my hand. My opponent has 3 cards. If I enter combat, I think I'm going to pass actually. So I'm going to pass combat. I'm not going to do combat. So next we go to the discard step. The discard step is both players' maximum hand size is 1. So during the discard step, you have to discard down to 1 card. Now you can discard down to 0 if you want to for any strategic purposes, but you have to discard down to 1 card maximum. So I'm going to choose to keep this attack in my hand, and I'm going to discard this defense. Alright, that's step 4. Step 5, Rejuvenation step. If I did not declare combat with my opponent, I can regenerate 1, which means I get to regenerate the top card on my discard pile. So the top card of my discard pile, this card right here, is going to go to the bottom of my life deck. Boom. That is the Rejuvenation step. Now, this stays in my hand, this stays on the table, my turn is now over. Now my opponent goes through the same steps that I just did. Now our opponent's going through his 5 steps on his turn. For learning purposes, we're going to say he's going to pass combat just as we did. If for some reason he entered combat, we would draw 3 cards and then we go through a combat sequence. But for this training purposes, we're going to say that he is passing during combat. So now it's our turn again. So step 1, draw 3 cards. We're going to draw 3 cards. Step 2 is your planning step. You play any drills, allies, setups, or Dragon Balls from your hand. So I'm going to play this setup here, and it'll stay in play until I use it. Then I'll play this ally. Now allies come into play at 3 power stages above 0. So Chi-Chi here will come into play at 1, 2, 3, 15. Her power rating is 15, super strong. That's a joke, but she's a really good ally. Works really well with Goku. So she comes into play at 3 above 0. If you're playing allies, you know you're playing ahead of time. Grab you some dice, grab you some way to keep track of it. You can either keep track of by placing a card on top of it, preferably not one that's, you know, that could be removed from play. But or you can place a dice on top of it if you're playing from, you know, if you have dice. I'm playing an Octagon, so I'm actually just going to set her power stages because you can do that on Octagon. And which we'll get to that later. I'm going to talk about this program here. It's actually pretty nice. But anyway, so your allies come to play at 3 power stages above 0. Then you get to power up. So there's PURs 2. So I'm going to gain 2 power stages on Goku. Awesome. Now he's 8,000, which is pretty sweet. Oh, I have an ally though. Allies also have power up ratings. So when you gain power stages for your power up rating on your main personality during the planning step, your ally will also gain their PUR. So she's gonna go up by 1. So now she's 4 above 0. Alright. So the next step is gonna be combat. Well, I have 2 cards in my hand. If I enter, they're gonna have 4 cards in their hands. So I'm actually just gonna pass again, and I'm not gonna enter. So I'm gonna pass combat, go into the discard step. We have to discard down to a maximum of 1 card in our hands. So I'm going to discard this card. And then Rejuvenation step, I get to regenerate 1, so I get to regenerate the top card of my discard pile, placing it at the bottom of my life deck. Alright, now it is our opponent's turn. Our opponent happens to be Nappa. Our opponent draws the 3 cards for his turn, putting 4 cards into his hand, and he's going to choose to enter combat with us. So when he enters combat, we get to draw 3 cards. Draw 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's see what we draw on here. We got a physical combat card that stops physical attack and has some immediate effects. We drew a drill, but the drill can only be played during the planning step, or if we have a card effect that allows us to do it. Then we have a physical attack that does some damage and has a hit effect. That's good. And then we have an energy attack that has a immediate effect on it. Alright, so we got a couple attacks, got a defense, got a drill that we can't really do anything about. And we also have our power. Don't forget about our power. Our power is an energy attack with a hit effect on it as well. Okay. So our opponent's going to attack us. He's going to throw, let's say, this card at us right here. Alright. It's a physical attack, banish after use. A physical attack doing AT plus 3 stages. Okay. If you have at least 5 drills in play, this attack deals additional plus 7 life cards of damage. hit, shuffle all drills in your discard pile into your life deck. Okay, first of all, this card has immediate effects on it, which is essentially everything. It's a physical attack doing AT plus 3, and then if you have at least 5 drills in play, this attack deals an additional plus 7 life cards of damage. So its immediate effect is it adding the extra 7 life cards of damage if he has at least 5 drills in play. The hit part is essentially if the attack is successful, if it successfully hits me and I don't defend it, he gets to use everything after that hit, that sentence after that hit. So shuffle all drills in your discard pile into your life deck. Alright, now let's see here. He is at 9 above 0, so he is at 8,000. I am at 9 above 0. I'm also at 8,000. So the AT on this is going to be the attack chart table up here to the right. So we're both at 8,000. So let's see here. 8,000 falls under B for both of us. So if we compare B to B, it's going to be 1, which means AT now equals 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4. So now we have a physical attack doing 4 power stages coming at us. Okay, now we have a couple options here. I have a physical defense in my hand. I could play this card to stop it and gain its immediate effects if I would like to. I actually happen to have a drill in play that can stop a physical attack. It says use only if your opponent has not performed a successful physical attack this combat. So he hasn't performed a successful physical attack this combat, which means I can activate this drill and use it. If I choose to do so, then the drill is used for that turn, and it cannot be used again until next combat. And then I also happen to have Chi-Chi in play, which her power allows me to stop a physical attack. And if I'm Goku, Gohan, or Goten, I don't have to be at 0 or 1 above to actually activate that. If it was another character, I would have to be at 0 or 1 to activate that. But due to the fact Chi-Chi has a special ability on her card, I can actually stop it with that. So in this case, I will actually stop it with Chi-Chi. So I'm going to declare stopping that attack with Chi-Chi. And you just pretty much say, I'm going to use Chi-Chi's power to stop that physical. Alright, physical has been stopped. And it'll go to his discard pile. Alright, so he performed an attack. I defended against it. Now it's my action. Now, I can perform an attack, or I can use my setup. So my setup says search your life deck for a styled drill and place into play. Ooh, that's really good. Okay, so you know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and use this setup. Now, when you use a setup, it is discarded or banished after use, depending on what it says. This in parentheses says banish after use, so it will be banished after use. If it did not say that, it would be discarded. So I'm going to use this power, search my life deck for a styled drill and place into play. So I'm going to look at my life deck. It's much easier when you have a physical deck in your hand to look at your life deck, in my opinion. But and I'm going to get, let's see, where's this drill at? We're going to deal lots of damage here. All right, so I'm going to get this drill. All right, it says drill on the card. It's styled because it is orange. So I get to place this drill into play from this card effect, and this has a constant effect on it because of the infinity symbol. Your energy attacks deal plus 2 life cards of damage. Alright, so now that I've used this card to set up, it says banish after use, so I will banish it. And now I have this drill in play. So all my energy attacks do plus 2 life cards damage. That's awesome. Okay. So we're going to go back to Nap over here. Nap is not happy. He's kind of mad right now. So he's actually going to perform this energy attack here. He wants to play this card right here. It's an energy attack costing 2 stages. Okay, so for him to even play this card, it costs 2 stages, which means he has to pay 2 power stages to perform this. So he has to go from being 9 above to being 7 above. Now, if for some reason he didn't have the power stages to pay, say he was at 0, he couldn't play this card at all because it costs 2 stages. You can't play anything if you don't have the cost, if you can't pay for the cost. But he does, so in this case he's performing an energy attack. It's going to do 6 life cards of damage. It's a lot. And then it has a hit that if it successfully hits me, I search my life deck for a styled drill and place it into play. Well, he searches life deck for a styled drill and place it into play. So it's an energy attack for 6. Energy attack for 6. I have no energy defense. Dang. Alright, so it's going to be 6 life cards of damage. Okay, so we start taking life cards of damage from our deck. Now remember, if you run out of cards out of your deck, you lose the game. So we're going to take 6. So first card is going to be this card, so that's 1. And then you got this card, which is going to be 2. Okay. Note, on this card, it says Endurance 1. What that means is anytime this card is revealed from taking damage, you can banish this card and prevent X damage, X equaling whatever the endurance number is. So in this case, this card normally only counts for 1 if it's discarded, but I can actually banish it and make it count as 2. It counts as itself, plus it counts as the endurance. So this would be 1, 2, 3. And we're going to keep going. 4, 5, and 6. Alright, so we took all the damage. Now, okay, so we took all the damage. Now he has a hit effect, so he gets to search his life deck for a style drill and place it into play. So in this case, we are sharing a deck. Normally you wouldn't be, but I'm just making this easier because we're using this system. We are sharing a deck. So he is going to get, where's that? He's going to get this card. This is a drill. He gets to straight up play it. By the way, this card, yeah, it's still a hit effect. Okay. Your opponent's attack steal minus 2 life cards of damage. All right. So he's got this drill. All of our attack steal minus 2 life cards of damage, and it is a constant effect because it has an infinity symbol. All right. This card doesn't say it needs to be banished after use, so now it is discarded. Also, he dealt 5 life cards of damage to us. Anytime you take damage of 5 or more life cards after the endurance, you get a critical damage effect. So since that attack did 6 life cards, we prevented 1 of it from endurance. So that means we took 5 total. Because we took 5, he gets to use a critical damage effect. A critical damage effect, you have 3 options. 1, you can lower your opponent's anger 1 level. 2, you can destroy an ally. Or 3, you can capture an opponent's Dragon Ball. Well, in this case, neither of us have anger, and neither of us have a Dragon Ball. I do have an ally, unfortunately, though. So since he got a critical damage effect, he gets to destroy my ally. So he's going to destroy it. And it literally just goes to your discard pile when he destroys an ally. So keep that in mind. The more damage you deal, you get special bonuses for dealing crits, and you can lower anger, destroy an ally, or capture a Dragon Ball. These are very important. Okay, so now it's my action. So he just performed an attack, I was unable to defend it, and I just took it. So that's my action, and let's see here. I am going to perform this physical attack here. This physical attack does +2, it does AT +2, and if it hits, I get to choose a style drill in my discard pile and place it into play. Which, you can look at your discard pile at any time. Anybody can look at your discard pile or banish zone at any time. I don't have any drills in there, so that's not going to matter. But it's still a physical attack doing AT +2. So he's 7 above now, which puts him at 6,500. And I'm at 8,000 still. Still the same category. So it's still going to be B versus B, so it's 1. So this is going to do 1 + 2, so it's going to do 3 power stages of damage. And this card's banished after use. So he has no way of stopping it. So he's going to take 3 power stages. 1, 2, 3. Alright. This is banished after use. I can't use its hit effect because I don't have a drill. Now it's his action. And this just keeps going back and forth the same way until literally you either win by Dragon Ball victory, you win by most powerful personality victory, which is hitting level 4 with 5 anger, or by being, or you lose if you have no cards left in your life deck. So now it's his action. He's going to perform this energy attack. He's going to pay 1 power stage because the energy attack says it costs one stage. And it does 2 life cards of damage. And he gets to raise his anger 2 levels. Sweet! He gains 2 anger. Alright. Normally there'd be some counter here, but I don't have a counter for that. Yeah. But he has 2 anger. And he lowers his opponent's anger 2 levels. So if I had any anger, he would just get to lower it. So when he plays this card, before I defend, he pays the cost, and then he does the immediate effects, which is raise your anger 2 levels, lower your opponent's anger 2 levels, and then I can defend the attack. So my action, once again, I don't have anything that can stop an energy attack, so I'm literally just going to take the damage. The damage is 2 life cards. Okay, so we got 1, and it has endurance on it, which that means we can prevent 1 of the damage if I banish this card. So I'm just going to remove this card from the game, and that counts as both life cards. So I took 1 damage, and the rest of it's gone. This card is banished after use, so it'll be also removed from the game. Okay, so now it's my action. A lot of stuff going on. It's not so exciting. I know you're excited about this. Okay, so now I am going to do Orange Offensive Strike. So it cost me 1 power stage, so I'm going to pay 1 power stage. It's banished after use. And then it's energy attack, doing 2 life cards damage. I search my life deck for a copy of it and place it into my hand. Okay, so its immediate effect is to search my deck for a copy of it and place it into my hand. So I'm just going to look at my deck, find a copy of it, place it into my hand. Make sure you shuffle your deck, give your let your opponent cut it if he wants to, or she, and then put it back in your deck pile. Okay, so energy attack does 2, and then it's going to have a modifier on that. It's going to get another 2 life cards, so that's going to be 4 life cards. Oh wait, so we got Masteries. So the Mastery essentially is going to have a constant effect, or it's going to have an ability, or it's going to have an effect that triggers. Masteries can get a little complicated depending on which one you're using. So just read it carefully ahead of time so you know when to reference it when something comes up. This Mastery specifically says, as a constant effect, your drills are not discarded when you advance or lower personality level. Oh, that's cool, and that's good to know, because normally when you advance or lower personality level with any other style besides orange, you lose all your drills. So you only have them on whatever level you're on. If you advance or lower a personality level, you lose all your drills. Next part is your energy attacks you +1 life card of damage. Oh, sweet. Okay, well, I'm performing energy attack, so it's going to deal extra life card. So this means it's going to deal 2 plus the 1, so it's 3 plus 2 more, so it's 5. So it's an energy attack for 5 life cards. At the end of combat, which you have used a critical damage effect, you search your discard pile for a style drill and place it into play. That's good to know. If I hit my opponent really hard, I get a crit. I get to search my discard pile at the end of combat for a drill and place it into play. So I get drills back in case my opponent destroys my drills. So this is going to deal 5 life cards. So he's got a card in his hand that just straight up can stop an energy attack. And he gains 1 anger. And all his attacks deal +2 power stages from remainder combat. So what he's going to do is he's going to play this in response to my energy attack. And he's going to say, hey, I'm stopping your energy attack. He gains 1 anger, which puts him at 3 anger. And for the remainder of combat, all his attacks deal +2 power stages of damage. Okay. So he used that to stop my attack. I have no more effects on this card, so it is now banished. And that is my action. Now it's his action. He still has his personality power. So he's going to perform his personality power here. It's a physical attack. It deals 3 power stages of damage and destroys 1 of your opponent's allies. Well, he already destroyed my ally early. I don't have another ally in play. So the immediate effect is not going to happen because there's nothing for it to happen on. But he can still perform a physical attack doing 3 power stages. And because of the other card that he performed earlier this combat, allowing him to deal additional 2 power stages of damage, this is now going to be a physical attack doing 5 power stages of damage. Because there's no AT on it, we don't have to worry about dealing with who's stronger than who. It's just a straight up 3 plus the 2 equaling 5. So it's a physical attack for 5 power stages against Goku. Alright, but Goku's got this. It's okay. Goku has this defense here. Physical combat stops physical attack. Sweet. I'm going to stop it. Then I'm going to gain 5 power stages. Okay, well, I don't have 5 power stages to gain. I only have 2, but I can still go ahead and gain up to the 5. Then for the remainder of combat, I can prevent 1 stage of damage from all my opponent's attacks. Nice. Not bad, not bad. Alright. So that goes to the discard pile after use. Yeah. Okay. So then it's my action again. Well, I am going to pay 1 power stage, and I'm going to perform this energy attack again. The one that I got from my deck. And it has the same effect as the other one, because obviously it's the same copy. So I'm going to look at my entire deck for another copy of it, which, if you remember, you can have 3 copies of any card that is not an ally, a Dragon Ball, or it does not state specifically on the card that it's restricted. Alright, so it's energy tag. Once again, it's going to do 2 plus 1 plus 2 equaling 5. So it's energy attack doing 5 life cards of damage. Alright, well, he can't stop it, obviously. He has no cards in his hand, but he does have this drill. This drill says all your opponent's attacks do -2 life cards of damage. So it means it's going to pretty much negate my drill that makes him do +2 life cards of damage. So it's going to do the 5 minus 2, so it's going to be an energy attack doing 3 life cards of damage. And he's going to take it. He's going to take it. And he's taking it from my own life deck, because, you know, we're sharing decks right now. Even though you normally don't do that in the game. Alright, he took 3. Took 3, no endurance. So, he just took it all. Alright, and this card's banished after use. Alright, well, he's going to pass again. Goku's still got another energy attack. Look at that. So, going to form this attack again. Now, in this case, obviously we know there's not another one in here. But, for rolling purposes, he is allowed to look through my deck. If I say I have no more copies of it, he's allowed to look through my deck to make sure I don't have any extra copies for cheating purposes. And then I shuffle my deck, he's allowed to cut it, and then I put my deck back. So anyways, energy attack. As we did the other two, it's 5 life cards -2, so it does 3 life cards, and it's banished after use. So he's going to take 3. So 1, does have endurance? No. 2, does have endurance? No. 3? Nope. Alright. Those are all discarded. And then this is banished after use. Alright. Combats can go last pretty long, depending. So, you know, be aware of whose turn it is at all times. Some players keep counters just in case, because combats can last quite a while. You know, maybe 15 minutes on one combat if it gets kind of crazy. I would say most combats, if for normal gameplay, is probably average about 7 minutes per combat on average. Depends on what you're playing against and who you're playing. Alright, so Nappa has the pass. He's going to pass in his action. He has nothing left, even though he entered this combat. He's got nothing. Goku's awesome. So Goku still has his personality powers. Personality powers, energy attack, costing 2, dealing 3 life cards of damage. If it hits, you may discard a card from your hand to search your life deck for a style drill and place it into play. So I'm going to go ahead and pay the 2 power stages because I have to pay for cost initially. And I paid 2 power stages. And it's going to deal 3 life cards. Well, it's an energy attack. So this is going to buff it by +1 life card. This is going to buff it by +2 life cards. And it does initial 3. So 3 plus 3 is 6. So it's energy attack for 6 life cards. He's going to reduce it by 2. So it's going to do 4 life cards. But he can't stop it, so he's going to take it. So you got 1, 2... Oh, it's got endurance. I can banish this. 3, 4. Alright. This one does have endurance on it, but there's no reason to banish it because we've already taken all the damage. So those are gone. And then I get to use his hit effect because I perform this attack and it successfully hit. So I can discard a card from my hand, which I'm going to. I'm going to discard this drill here because obviously I can't use it. And then I get to search my life deck for a style drill and place it into play. So let's see, what options do I have for drills? If I have one, I might not have one. Oh yeah, here we go. This is a good one actually. Oh, this is an even better one. Alright. So I'm going to place this drill into play. Alright, so this drill I'm placing into play. This drill has a power. So essentially once per combat I can use this power, draw 2 cards, and then discard 2 cards from my hand unless I discard a style drill from my hand. It's a really good card. Okay, so that combat's over because we're both going to have to pass. I have no cards left in my hand. I have no attacks left. He has no cards left in his hand. He has no attacks left. We have no activated abilities to use, so we both are going to pass combat. So that's the end of his second turn. That was a very long combat. That was actually 20 minutes of recording there. I just looked at that. So essentially, both players will rinse and repeat that step. Whoever enters combat, the defender will draw their 3 cards, and then you do exactly what we just did. You attack, defend, use your drills, use any setups you have, use your allies, use your personality powers, and that keeps going until either someone has no life deck left, which their opponent would win in that case. You control all 7 Dragon Balls and you win the game, or you win by most powerful personality victory by hitting level 4 with 4 anger. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all the different scenarios without going through an entire combat, and just show you what different card interactions there are and all the rulings for them. Okay, so for card interactions here, we're going to say I have 3 anger, just as Nappa did a while ago at the end of that combat. He had 3 anger. So we're going into another combat, for example, and I have 3 anger. I have this card in my hand that's energy attack that costs 1, dealing 2 life cards damage, and I raise my anger 2 levels. So when you play this card, you have to pay its cost initially. So I'd come over and I would pay my 1 power stage. Then I would play this card. It's energy attack, dealing 2 life cards. Its immediate effects would be to raise my anger 2 levels. Well, because I gained 2 anger, automatically would level up because I'm at 3 anger, giving me 2 more anger, puts me at 5 anger. So when I hit 5 anger, I automatically level up, which it's going to do that. Automatically level up, and then I set my power stages to full. So anytime you level up, you set your power stages up to max. So they'll be at full, 10 power stages above 0. Then you come back to the card, and your opponent is allowed to defend, and then if they don't defend, you calculate damage, and you continue on with what's going on. Now, if it is a physical attack, and you level doing the same action, you actually do not do the attack table based off of his level 1. You'll actually do the attack table based off his level 2, because all immediate effects happen immediately, and then you go back to the attack and calculate damage. Now, if you would D-level and say for something a card effect lowers your anger, or lowers your level, I'm sorry, such as Dragon Ball 2, it would lower you 1 level. So I would D-level to here. But when you D-level, you actually go to 5 power stages above 0. So you'd go from wherever you were on level 2, and when you D-leveled, you go to 5 above. Even if on level 2, you were literally at 0. You were at 0. But if you were forced to D-level, or you D-level from a card effect, you would go to 5 power stages above 0. Just kind of have to remember that. Now, when you level or D-level, your anger stays the same unless you're leveling from anger. So if I hit 5 anger and I level, my anger is reset to 0. Simple as that. If I level or D-level from a card effect that specifically says gain 1 level, or your MP loses 1 level, your anger does not move. It'll stay at 3 or 2 or 1 or whatever it is. Alright. Next is going to be card interactions for events. So like I said earlier, events just, you use their effects and they happen. So in my action, instead of me attacking or using a setup, I can decide to play an event. I can play this event right here, which allows me to look at my opponent's hand, choose a card, and then it forces them to shuffle that card back into their deck. Very good card. Use it for many different strategic purposes. But when I play this card, like I mentioned earlier, this card has a lightning bolt on it. So that means if I meet the requirements of its power, which says use when an event is played, then I get to play this card. So if I play Confrontation, or say my opponent plays Confrontation, for example, it's an event. I can immediately use this card, which says use when an event is played. Boom, I'm going to use this card instantly. So before any immediate effects of this card happen, because the entire card is technically an immediate effect, my immediate effect happens because I got priority because I have the lightning bolt. And this actually cancels the effect of that card. So I literally can cancel out the effect of the event. And then I get to regenerate 1 too, because it's a bonus, it's awesome. So I literally just cancel the effect of the event, which is really awesome. Now here's the crazy thing that you got to keep in mind. A lot of people, everyone has Time as a Warrior's Tool in their deck. It is a staple card. It is an event that stops a physical or energy attack, and then it also stops all your opponent's attacks. So say for instance, I'm performing an attack. We'll say I'm performing the energy attack here that we played earlier. Performing this energy attack. My opponent plays Time as a Warrior's Tool, which can stop that energy attack, and then it stops all my attacks from enter combat. Because that's an event, I can still immediately play this. Even though in my action I'm playing this card, I can play this because it has a lightning bolt on it, and I can use the effect of it to cancel Time as a Warrior's Tool. So keep that in mind. Lightning bolts are played when their power criteria is met and can be played regardless of whose action it is or where in the action it's getting played at. Now, obviously, if you let Time as Warrior's Tool go through, you can't just come back and be like, oh, I'm going to use this. But no. As soon as it's Time as Warrior's Tool played, if you have the sphere in your hand, you can literally, stop the effect of it. And that goes for anything else. It doesn't have to be that. It could be something, it could be a lightning bolt for something else, like when so-and-so, deals damage, blah, blah, blah happens. Things like that. But just keep that in mind, You can do that, and not all events are just immediate effects. They are defense cards. Now, as far as damage redirection that I mentioned earlier but never went into, when you take physical damage, so say my opponent performs a physical attack against me, which I don't have one on the table, but they perform a physical attack on me. We do the calculations, and it comes out to be like 6 power stages of damage, for example. Okay, now I can either take 6 power stages on my character here, like I normally would, and it would put me at 0, and then the remaining 1 life card would come from my life deck. Or I can actually redirect it to an ally. So if I didn't want to take 6 power stages to Goku here, and say I had Chi-Chi out here, I can redirect it to Chi-Chi. And to do that, you'd literally just say Chi-Chi's going to take the damage. Chi-Chi will lose whatever power stages she had remaining. And then if it puts her at 0, anything remaining still takes life cards. There's many different reasons why you would want to do this. If you still wanted to use Goku's power, Goku has to perform his power or pay the cost on his main personality to use his power. So obviously, if you still want to use that power, but you didn't want to be at 0, which would stop you from using the power, you can redirect, take a couple of life cards, and still be okay. Or you can just take it if you wanted to on your main personality. So we're going to say he took 6 power stages. Oh, well, he had 1 left over, so now it goes into life cards. And he takes life card damage. Now, for card effect purposes, when it goes to life cards, it's not considered life card damage. You're still taking 1 power stage of damage. It's just coming from the top of your deck due to the fact that you had no more power stages. So, for example, this reduces all your opponent's attacks by 2 life cards of damage, even though I took 1 life card of damage from that physical attack because it was initially a power stage. This does not affect it. This would, however, affect any attack that was a life card damage initially, such as an energy attack doing 6. This would now do 4 after that drill. Next on the list is the allies, as far as actually them using their powers. So you have to be at 0 or 1 above to use your allies, unless they otherwise specifically state on them or there's a card effect that states that. So if Goku's at 0 or 1, I can now use Tien. Otherwise, I couldn't use Tien, besides just redirecting damage to him. So now that Tien can make actions because I'm at 0 or 1, I'm going to use Tien. And Tien has a power. It says energy attack costs 2, dealing 3 life cards, hit, draw a card. So I'm going to pay my 2 power stages, and I'm going to say Tien is going to perform his energy attack. If it hits, I get to draw a card. If it doesn't, well, they block my ally, but that could be another card in my hand that they don't block. Alright, we're about to win. So close, just stick with me. So, the 3 victories that we have, you can win by most powerful is personality victory, you can win by Dragon Ball victory, and you can win by survival. Look at what we got here. We got all 3. We got all 3 going. So close, so close. Okay, so I'm playing as Goku here. I have 3 anger. One way I can win. I can perform this energy attack, which means as long as I have 1 power stage, which is not hard, right there, I can pay 1 power stage, and to perform an energy attack doing 2 life cards, raise my anger 2 levels, lower opponent's anger 2 levels. If I perform this attack and I have 3 anger, the immediate effect is to raise my anger 2 levels. As soon as I hit 5 anger and I'm at level 4, which I am, I win the game by MPPV. Just straight up, I win. OMG, this is awesome. Boom, MPP right there. So close. But if my opponent performs, say, this attack against me, and I have no more cards in my hand, it's energy attack. It's only dealing 2 life cards. But if you look at my life deck, I only got 1 card. If he performs this attack, I lose my card, and I'm dead. My opponent wins, because I have no more cards in my life deck. Another way for them to win as well is Dragon Balls. As you can see, it looks like all 7 Dragon Balls are in play, but they have 2 different controllers. We have, my opponent has 6 of them, and then I have Dragon Ball 1. So if my opponent gets a crit on me, or gets to use a critical effect for any reason, or has the ability to capture Dragon Ball, as soon as he captures his Dragon Ball, he wins the game. I can't stop him if he captures his Dragon Ball. He wins the game. All 3 victories right there. Now, also on the survival one, say I have this card in my life deck, and then I have, say we have a couple of Dragon Balls here, for example. We'll just say these 3 Dragon Balls. Okay, so I'm taking damage, right? And I'll even take damage from this. It's only 2 life cards. I got 4 cards in my deck. I'm safe. I'm safe. Take 1. Oh, wait. It's a Dragon Ball. What happens when a Dragon Ball is revealed? Well, when taking damage, if a Dragon Ball is revealed, and there's not a Dragon Ball of the same copy in play, so say, for instance, my opponent runs Dragon Balls, I run Dragon Balls, that's how they would be in play. They are limit 1 per deck otherwise. So I'm like, Dragon Ball 3. Okay. He doesn't have 1 in play. So this actually would go technically to the bottom of my life deck. And then I reveal the next card. It's another Dragon Ball. Okay, I'm still haven't taken any damage. I gotta keep putting these on back on bottom until I take my 2 life cards of damage. So I reveal another one. It's another Dragon Ball. Okay, this goes back on bottom. And then I reveal this card. Okay, I can take damage with this card. So this card goes to the discard pile. But now I'm in what they call a Dragon Ball loop. And essentially, I reveal Dragon Balls infinitely because I can't take damage with them. When that happens, I defaultly lose the game by survivability. And my opponent wins because I no longer have cards in my life deck that are actually count as life cards. These are just Dragon Balls. Now, if for some reason Dragon Ball 3 was already in play because we both ran Dragon Balls and the same scenario happened, and I had another card for that to work. When Dragon Ball 3 is revealed, there's already Dragon Ball in play. This Dragon Ball is now removed from the game because only 1 Dragon Ball can actually exist for each different dragon in the Dragon Ball Z universe, or Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Super, whichever, or GT. So this would actually be banished. Very few times Dragon Balls can actually get banished, but they can be banished for damage purposes if 1 is already in play, and it will count as a life card of damage. So that means I can take my next card. Okay, cool. Alright, this card is not revealed. This card can technically be a Dragon Ball, and you still can keep playing, and you don't insta-lose. But as soon as this card is revealed, if it is a Dragon Ball, that's not, well, if it's a Dragon Ball, or if you take damage because you only have 1 life card anyways, you will lose the game. But since you technically still have 1 life card in your deck, and it's an unknown card, I'm still alive. I can still win. And then I can play my energy attack here and win by MVP. So, just keep that in mind when taking damage with Dragon Balls. If there's 1 in play, then it's banished and it counts as a life card of damage. If it's not in play, it does not count as life card of damage, and it goes to the bottom of your deck. Alright, last but not least, there's cards in the game that allow you to discard cards from the top of your opponent's deck, or your own deck actually, in some cases. In Orange specifically, they have Orange Destruction. Your opponent destroys the top X cards of his life deck. X equals 1 plus the number of drills in play. You have in play. So, I have 3 drills in play. So when I play this card, my opponent has to discard the top 4 cards of his deck. When you discard cards on top of your deck, you're not allowed to use Endurance because it's not damage. You just straight take 4. With that said though, discarding cards on top of your deck do not trigger critical damage effects. If I would discard 5 cards from my opponent's deck, I don't get it to use a critical damage effect because it's not damage, it's not an attack. Essentially this just happens. But also, in the case of Dragon Balls, as mentioned before when taking damage, Dragon Balls will count for being destroyed. Because when a Dragon Ball is technically destroyed and it goes to the discard pile, it just returns itself to the bottom of your deck, because Dragon Balls cannot be destroyed. So if my opponent played this against me for 4 cards, so X is 3 plus 1, so it's gonna discard the top 4 cards of my deck. I'm gonna discard 1, it's a Dragon Ball, 2, it's a Dragon Ball, 3, it's a Dragon Ball, 4 to Dragon Ball. I normally probably wouldn't get that lucky, but in this scenario, I literally discard the top 4 cards of my deck, and then because Dragon Balls, when they go to the discard pile, they're placed at the bottom of your deck instead. They go to the bottom of the deck, and I finish out the card. I destroyed the top 4 cards of my deck, and that card's done. And if you get lucky enough where they're all Dragon Balls, you literally, I mean, you put Dragon Balls on the bottom of your deck. It's pretty good. Otherwise, if you just kept taking, it, I don't even know if I have any. But eventually, yeah, like this, it would literally just be destroyed, and then these would go to the bottom. But like I said, Dragon Balls go to the bottom if destroyed for any reason, and they do count towards being destroyed. When taking damage, they don't count towards the damage unless a copy of that Dragon Ball is already in play. Alright, that is the end of the tutorial. I apologize it took so long, but thank you all for watching. Thanks to the developers of OCTGN for having an awesome program. Thanks to DBZ Top Tier for having the DBZ portion inside of OCTGN. And thanks for everybody for watching. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're still watching, all my other videos will be a lot shorter, and it'll be discussions over individual cards for the card game, strategies, combos, and maybe even some ranting over some individual cards. If maybe they shouldn't have been printed, they should have been printed. I don't know. But they're going to be a lot shorter, hopefully more fun, and I'm going to have other people on the cast with me. So it's going to be exciting. Hope to see you there. And comment below, like if you like, and follow/subscribe so you can get updates. And I will see you next time. Thanks.